Rather solemn. I still gotta work on my happy birthday. Because somebody is having a birthday party tomorrow.
Oh yes,
Yay. So you're turning 40 for the first time?
I wish I was turning 40. Yeah. I am not turning 40, but we thought we were just having a bit of a conversation, and we thought we would do one of these couch combos. Yeah, I mean, we're sitting on chairs, not quite the couch. But
couch is right there.
Couch is over there. The lighting is there. We didn't want to be backlit. Oh, hey, Katie. So we were just having a conversation. We thought we might as well just come live and just continue the conversation, because on Monday our topic was how to introduce that you're open or polyamorous with people you meet, like in public. So we're talking about where you might not know their status or otherwise. Mm-hmm. And so, like you said, it's my birthday, and so, having a little bit of a party.
And a bit of a mixed party, right? So some of your pervy friends that you've met over the last 4 or 5 years, are gonna be there, and some straight people, like your parents and maybe cousins and aunts and uncles might be there as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, straight. I'm not sure what you mean by straight.
Non-weird, queer, kind of funky people.
Well, they might be.
They might be. Well, that's the point, right? So, do we announce our position? Do we wear a sign that says queer, or do we assume that they're straight? Do they want to tell us that they are? Do we announce our position? And if we do, does it scare them away? How do we say it without scaring them away? Can we say it in a very casual, matter-of-fact kind of way, or does it need to be couched in some ways? Like, I don't know if you knew this about me, but I'm a little bit strange. Or
I thought at one point that we might actually get bracelets for people who were open, so that people could identify each other. But then I thought it would be much more fun if people didn't know, and then they had like conversations with people and what came up and that sort of thing. And I thought that would be fun. Yeah, that's fun. But you're right. There's different types of people that are coming. We tend to call them vanilla. I don't know. Some people may not know that term, because someone I was talking to today hadn't heard that term. I said there was going to be vanilla people there, as well as some vanilla chocolate swirl, like we are. And they're like, what is that? Is that a dessert? And I said, oh no, vanilla is usually what we refer to people who aren't, either a swinger, open relationship, that sort of thing. So they said, oh, I just don't like labels. And I was like, that's fair. That's actually a really good point. Sure. But I was trying to differentiate, because the other thing I had to consider was, do I tell people, because some of our friends who are not vanilla might think it's a, like a sexier sort of party, and it might affect what they're wearing, the theme and stuff like that. So I felt I had to tell some people that it's, it's a gold party, but, you might want to wear dressy gold rather than super sexy gold. I mean, you could wear a super sexy gold. Anyways, I'm excited to see what people come up with.
That's interesting. Before you go too far, I want to say, the idea about announcing ourselves as this, that, and the other thing, or how we might look at them and say vanilla, meaning that they're not necessarily a friend of polyams or whatever. But if they are vanilla, then what would it make the rest? How do we label that? How do we announce ourselves?
Yeah, and do we need to, right? Yeah. I would say chocolate vanilla swirl, but I don't know. But what were you going to say? What were your thoughts?
Vanilla, it makes it kind of almost binary by saying vanilla or chocolate. Right?
That's true.
Either that way or you're not. You're weird and queer or you're not. But maybe you're weird and queer at times, or would you think you are? Or maybe you think that this is perfectly normal and it's not weird and queer at all. It's just how you are.
Well, and there's people that we know from the beach, for example. We go to a nude beach here in Toronto that, hang out with us. And, I would say they're on the spectrum of being, open, but maybe not as open as other people. Right. Anyways, but I think what was interesting, sorry.
No, another good point. Not as open as others. So are we wanting to out them? Never my shtick to out somebody else.
No.
I've been outed by other people, and sometimes it's cool, and sometimes it's like, well, I wish I would have been able to announce that.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I had a conversation with a client last week, and they were talking about how they were so excited to share what they had learned and to be open, and I don't want to hide anymore, that they went and told their parents that they were polyamorous. And by doing so, outing their partner who wasn't ready for that. And similar experience to what we had, the parents were not as supportive, not excited. And in that case, they thought it was the woman's fault,
Right.
and,
well, I feel like I've been on the receiving end of that. Unbeknownst to your parents, they don't know necessarily about your history, but you came out to them, so they, I think, wanted or felt that it was cool to make the association that I might have influenced you.
Yes.
Whereas when we look at your diary from grade school, we find out that there was some stuff going on well before that.
That's
Stuffed
not true.
animals, pillows, classmates, sleepover camp.
Oh, now you're outing me. Yeah, but I didn't out you. We had a whole conversation. This is our first couch conversation was on this very topic.
Yeah,
you helped me. We talked about how we would come up for that. And actually that's what inspired today's couch conversation, because I was speaking with someone that is thinking about telling their parents, and I seized the diary.
It's going to be in print form. It'll be a paperback naturally.
I actually had thought about writing my life story at one point with somebody, because at a certain point in my life, crazy things were happening for me, and I was like, I got to write this down. Anyways, yeah, we talked about it, and it had come up for someone, so I had tagged it in somebody in the group, and then I think a few people had watched the video, which is awesome, because I think it does come up for people. But I mean, I think if you are going to do that, it's best to, that your partners are aware and are, comfortable or okay, or you practice what you're going to say, because you don't want to make it seem like it's somebody else's fault and that you're choosing this on your own volition.
Right. And for me, the idea is that we should really go into it with eyes open, because we just really don't know how it's going to be received, right? So they may be loving and say, oh yeah, we knew this all along about you, like, duh. Or they might say, wow, like, that's immoral and disgusting, and think you're, icky.
Yes.
We don't know. So be prepared for the unknown, the reaction you might get.
Yeah, it's funny, when I looked at that video, when we were thinking about what they might say, they said a lot of the things that we anticipated. I wasn't anticipating them blaming you, though. I think they would have, blamed me, or, yeah, but not so much. And I had a recent conversation as well with my mom about being queer, and she seemed surprised about that as well, which was surprising for me. And that person I had talked about, I think when they told their parents, they actually thought that they were going to be like, yeah, that totally makes sense. Like, they weren't even thinking. But of course, they didn't watch the video, so we could have saved you some trouble. I mean, there are certain ways of doing it, right? But what's interesting about the party, other than the fact that it's going to be a mixed group, but this is kind of the first time. I mean, you did stop at my parents' place briefly recently, but it's probably the first time that you're going to be in the same space in a social environment with them.
In a rather closed space.
Yes.
There won't be a whole lot of people here for distractions and stuff. Yeah, it'll be face to face.
Yeah. So what do you think about that?
Well, some things were said that were sort of hurtful. I had fallen in love with them and thought that they loved me, and maybe they still do, but the concept is not something that they're wanting to accept, or not being able to come around and say that they've accepted it. It's hard to kind of walk back from those words, but I also at the same time want to demonstrate very much that I am still the same person that they may have known. Nothing has changed about me in that sense. I'm still wanting to be loving, caring, considerate, all those things. So I will try to meet them with an open heart and see where it goes from there.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's amazing about you. Like, I think I've had the opportunity, certainly over the last year, to kind of help them relearn who I am. Those conversations are still tough, like the conversation I had with my mom about being queer, but I would love for them to rediscover you as the amazing human that they believed you to be, like when they met you the first time. You know what I mean? Like, my dad said, oh, what's such a nice, lovely man, because you were like helping out at their anniversary party, their 50th anniversary party.
Working like a dog.
Working like a dog, you and my two besties, working for them, so I would love that. That would make me super happy.
Yeah.
It's hard when you don't, it's so hard. I feel like you don't know them anymore. Like, in some ways, I feel like I don't know my dad anymore. He's not the person that I remembered him to be.
But, maybe he feels the same way. Maybe he feels as though he thought he knew us, and then we come out as being this way, and he thinks, wow, what else don't I know about them, right? Which is kind of pleading the case why we must always communicate, right? To take the guesswork out of it, to announce our positions, and then we can make that consent. Do I want to participate in a relationship like that or not? Right? So trying to be honest and open, ethically open about it. And then there are other cases where, you know what, what's it going to change? Why do they need to know? Maybe I don't have to announce my position. Maybe I can simply observe where they're at
Yes.
and meet them there.
Yeah. And I think for some people, that's definitely an option. Like if you don't want to pull the trigger, you don't have to pull that trigger.
Right.
You know, I mean, for me, it was important because of the work I do supporting people who are in polyamorous and open relationships. So I felt like, and we have this community and we've been very active, and now we're going on public. We're speaking on Monday on my birthday at a Pride event in beautiful Gananoque, Ontario. So I feel very honored to do that. And I felt like I was hiding those things.
Well, and also, you know, I mean, some of us might have appeared on national television on more than one occasion. So they might come across it and see it and then be like, what the hell is going on? Like, who is that? You know?
Yeah.
So maybe giving them the heads up kind of says like, look, you know, I want to give you a chance for you and I to have a dialogue about this. So I want you to know my position so you can ask me questions and you can come at it in a way that feels comfortable for you.
Yeah.
And I also get a chance to advocate for myself to show you that this is just as normal as other ways of being. So being with one or being with many doesn't have to have a moral consideration. Being mono or poly shouldn't be attached to a consideration of it being right or wrong. It's your way of being. I'm not asking them to be any other way that they are. I can accept the way that they are. I can tolerate that. I ask for the same. Could you tolerate knowing how I am? I'm not asking you to be that way, but please let me be that way.
Yeah, exactly.
With love. Yeah.
I just wish they could see sometimes how much people like love you and love me and the amazing people that are around us that, you know, choose to be and want to be, and how loving those relationships are. And that is what it's about. You know what I mean? I'm always feel great when we go to the beach, for example, and see all of our friends and we hang out and do all those things. And it's just so loving and supportive and inclusive. And you feel like you're a part of something. And that was the same with Pride, right? Like that's what I felt. Like I felt like I was like living my authentic self. And I just like, I think that's amazing when you can do that. But
that's a beautiful component to mention, right? It goes well beyond the physical, sexual, erotic component of it. The love that we get from people. So, you know, where we are right now, a major provider went down, a service provider, Southern service provider went down. And one of the people, friends of ours that we met through this way of being, reached out to us and said, how are you guys doing? Do you need to come over and use our Wi-Fi? You know, so I mean, there's gestures that go well beyond the sexual, erotic component. They love us and we love them. And why wouldn't we ever want to support love? It's like when I see a post the other day that had S and then a line through X, and I think it was implying sex, but it was edited. But the fucking word war or gun goes unedited, that's okay? It's perverse. So why shouldn't the love that we get be celebrated?
Exactly.
I don't see it as, and again, we're all consenting adults. If they want to love me or I want to love them, then let's do that.
Yeah, it's one piece of our identity. It's only one piece. This is what I was trying to explain to my mom, because she's like, why were you part of Pride? I don't understand. Like, why are they asking you to speak at a Pride event? Like, she just didn't get it. And I said, well, our relational identity, how we relate to other people, is part of our identity as self. And you know, I love to talk about identity, but it's just one part. And so there's so many other parts. There's gender, erotic, but then there's other things like how we see ourselves. And, you know, I think it's the thing I love to work with people on the most is identity. And I think embracing your identity and choosing the identity you want and realizing the identity you already are.
Absolutely. The ability to help them see themselves as being perfectly acceptable. The normalization of who we are as human beings in whatever expression it might take. Yeah, I think it's very important. Yeah, because unfortunately, a lot of people have felt as though the way that they are was embarrassing, shameful, unacceptable, and unfortunately, they did things that were not very loving to themselves, and that's not a good way to be.
I know I love it when you meet people and you talk to them. My friend and I went out for a drink and we were at a bar and we happened to talk to someone who was sitting there randomly. And I don't know how we got on the whole conversation, but we were just talking. He's asking me what we do, and I don't know how it got on because she was coaching him sort of on the career side of things, which is what she specializes in. And somehow we got into relationships and I spoke a bit about what I do and that sort of thing. And he was like, wow. And he had this moment where he's like, oh my God, this thing that I've always thought I was, I didn't know that it could be, it was an actual thing, and it could be for me, and there's people that are doing it, and it's normal, and what I'm feeling. He's like, I've never really been great at, having, monogamous relationships, and I never could figure it out, and then, I've always loved lots of people around me and that sort of thing. Anyways, I think it's cool when you find and you feel like you finally belong somewhere. And yeah.
And again, going back to something like pride, it is this time that we come out and we have the ability to announce ourselves in whatever part, but that also there are allies out there, people who say, well, maybe I don't identify exactly what you do, but I support you being the way that you are. You are perfectly valid and lovely. And it's important that we talk about that. It's important that we have this exposure, especially today, because it seems as though there are so many people who are wanting to silence other people. And I don't want to do that.
Well, that's really good couch convo. I'm glad we did this. We talked about more than I thought we would, but it's amazing. I love how that happens. This is kind of how we talk all the time, but we don't always capture it in the same way, I think, once the camera goes on. So I'm glad we were able to do that. And I really appreciate you being open to seeing my parents again. And
good for them also that they're coming here, right?
Yeah.
Kind of walking into the lion's den in a sense.
Yeah, my mom had said, like, no, they weren't coming, and it's far, and there's going to be more people there, and blah, blah, blah. And then what was interesting was she made my dad made her call me back like 5 minutes later to say, no, we want to come. Can we come a little bit early so we don't have to, be exposed to a lot of people, la, la, la. And so, but I thought it was funny that my dad got my mom to call, but then my mom, being my mom, then said, Louie, get on the phone and talk to your daughter about, where to park and that sort of thing. So I just thought it was funny that he asked her. So I get the sense that he's still maybe a bit uncomfortable, but I'm glad that he wanted to come.
Yeah, for sure. And your mother, I think, played it really well, right? She got him to talk about it. There was a study that came out not long ago, and it's probably known to many people, but one of the components when marriages or relationships break down is because the communications have broken down.
Yeah.
Because we stop talking. That is one of the most toxic things we can do. So we may not see eye to eye, but let's keep talking about it and find ways to appreciate each other's positions, right? But keep talking about it. Say everything.
Well, it's what works for us. We talk a lot. And we have been practicing the active listening communication thing, and it's been really great. It's been a bit of a game changer for us, I'd say, even after all this time, right?
But that talking is what Freud called the talking cure. Being able to talk about it. We create neural pathways of discharge. We see different ways. We can hopefully have progressive communication, find out where we stand, find out where the other person stands. Good stuff. Talk.
Awesome.
Talk,
okay.
talk.
Well, thanks for this talk.
Look, thank you for this talk.
Now we got to get back to party planning, or we're going to have a empty room with no food, which would be tragic in my mind.
We drink.
There'll be drinks. Anyways, thanks for listening. And that's a great idea, Katie. She said to post a party debrief. Yeah, let's do that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Thanks everyone for listening, and I hope this was helpful. And we'll chat again soon.